You're right. Losing weight would help with some of my conditions. It would help alleviate some of my conditions, but it's not going to get rid of all my conditions. So things like the skin rash isn't going to go away just because I lose weight. It's caused because of the insulin breaking down in my skin. I don't know why, but it's just always going to happen. It's almost like an allergic reaction to it, but I'm not allergic to it once it's in my body. It's just on my skin. It seems to cause an allergic reaction. Things like my diabetes aren't just going to go away because I lose weight. I've always had the markers of being diabetic ever since I was a child. My dad is diabetic, along with many of my family members are diabetic. So it's a genetic condition in my family. And even as a child, when my dad was first diagnosed with diabetes, I'd go to appointments with him with my mom to his diabetic doctor. And, they were asking like, oh, do you have any of these markers? And one of them happened to be like a ring around the neck that looked like dirt. And my mom's like, do you mean like this? And I had long hair at the time. She lifted up my hair. And he's like, oh, she's diabetic? And mom's like, no. And she's like, she will be. And I wasn't big as a kid. I didn't start gaining weight until, I don't know, my teenage years. Like, it slowly started coming on after I got my menstrual cycle for the first time at 7 years old. I slowly started to gain weight. And then once I hit my teenage years, it just rapidly continued. I'm on the downward spiral now because I'm on the feeding tube and can't intake anything orally. And therefore, I'm only getting set number of calories a day through my feeds. So I'm on the downward spiral of losing weight slowly. So some things may get better, like my sleep apnea might get better. Other things, caused by weight could improve, but they won't disappear. And like I've also been told that they could see diabetes in my eyes before I was diabetic. So there's always been signs that I was going to be diabetic. And like I said, diabetes runs in my family. My grandmother was diabetic. My aunt is diabetic. Now, hers started after her second pregnancy. She had gestational diabetes, and then after pregnancy, it just didn't go away. And like I said, my dad has it. My mom's hyperglycemic. So it runs in my family. So the chances of diabetes going away, very slim to nil. Getting my numbers under control might help with weight loss, but it's also hard for my sugars to be under control when I'm on the feeds because my body doesn't have time to react to the insulin. I'm on a 24-hour feeding tube. I don't ever have a break from the feeding tube. It takes 20 hours to run the feeds if I'm running at full speed. And then it's 4 hours I do my flush or water intake. So what I do is I actually extend that 20 hours to be 24 hours so I can get my water intake during the day. So instead of putting 2 cartons of formula in at a time, every once in a while I'll just put 1 and add a carton of water so that it just equals itself out. Especially when I go to bed, it's easier to make sure that my feed bag is topped up, and then that way I'm not having to wake up in the night or during the day, depending when I'm sleeping, to fill the bag. So that's why my sugars may never be properly controlled. Once I get the insulin pump, it will be a little better because it will constantly give me, I think it's bolus or maybe it's basal. I don't know the difference. I should, but I don't. But it will constantly be giving me little amounts of insulin throughout the day. So it will hopefully help to level out my insulin numbers or my sugar numbers. But my diabetes will never fully be gone. And a lot of my other conditions don't even have anything to do with my weight. Like my stomach conditions where I have gastroparesis, that will never go away by a weight. That's got nothing to do with weight, and most of my conditions don't have anything to do with weight. Some of my conditions may improve, but won't go away.